Writers use language that expresses their ideas concisely and precisely. Let's practice eliminating wordiness and redundancy in our writing. Sometimes writers become wordy and redundant by using words that are not necessary or repeating the same ideas in their paragraphs. Wordiness is using empty words that carry little meaning. Redundancy is repeating words or ideas over and over. Wordiness and redundancy can distract readers from what we are trying to say. Writers remove unnecessary words and repeated ideas to make their writing precise and concise. When we are wordy or redundant, we can distract our readers from the real meaning of our sentence. As we revise our writing, we need to be on the lookout for unnecessary words and words that we repeat over and over. Let's look at an example. Here's my original sentence. My mom was driving in her car when she suddenly slammed her car brakes. She slammed her car brakes because there was a squirrel in front of her car. As I'm revising, there are a few things I need to do. First, I look for words being repeated over and over. I notice that car and car brakes are written a few times. I also need to look for sentences that have many words but little meaning or ideas that might be repeated over and over. As I reread, I notice that my second sentence really just repeats the ideas from the first sentence about my mom slamming on the brakes, and then adds that there was a squirrel. I ask myself, can I remove or replace these words to make my writing precise and concise? Well, I think I can. I'm going to remove the car brakes, and slammed, combining the two sentences into one to make my writing less wordy and redundant. Now my sentence reads, my mom suddenly slammed on her car brakes because there was a squirrel in front of her car. I've trimmed my writing down to one sentence that precisely and concisely expresses what I want to say. Pause the video and write these sentences on your practice sheet. Press play when you're done. Here's a draft of an argumentative letter I've been working on. I'm trying to convince our school board to adopt a uniform policy. I think I have great support for why uniforms will be a good idea, but I don't think this style of my writing sounds very convincing. I need to check for redundancy and wordiness. Read my draft and see if you notice any redundancy and wordiness in my writing. Let's look at the first part of my draft. As I begin to revise, I'm going to ask myself, which words do I use over and over in my writing? Try this on your own. Pause the video and underline the redundant words. Press play when you're done. So let's look at the words we underlined. Remember, we asked, which words do I use over and over in my writing? I decided to underline academic achievement because I used that twice. I also used the word uniforms 3 times. I don't think I need to keep repeating these words. The next question I ask myself is, how can I reword the sentences to make my writing more concise? I know that I don't need to repeat academic achievement and uniforms over and over. So here's what I came up with. I decided that I didn't need to say our students wear uniforms at the end of the first sentence because that idea is redundant. I've already mentioned a uniform policy, so I don't need to add that the students will wear the uniforms. In the second sentence, I can drop academic because I've already mentioned academic achievement. I can just write achievement. I've also dropped the word uniforms because my reader already knows that I'm referring to kids wearing uniforms. So my revised sentences read, our student academic achievement will increase if we adopt a uniform policy. First, achievement will increase in the classroom because students will concentrate better. Doesn't that sound much more precise? Pause the video and write the revised sentence on your practice sheet. Press play when you're done. Okay, here is the next section of my draft. First, I will ask myself, which words do I use over and over in my writing? Well, first I notice that I say thinking about twice. I also refer to distractions twice. I bring up adopting a uniform policy again, even though I've mentioned that a few times earlier in my draft. I also notice that I say academic learning. The academic is redundant because I'm talking about school, and that is obviously academic. Now that we've noticed the words that are used over and over, try the next part on your own. Remember, ask, how can I reword the sentences to make my writing more concise? Pause the video and write these sentences more concisely. Press play when you're done. Nice work! Do your sentences sound more concise and precise? Listen to my revision. Kids are not distracted by what the person next to them is wearing during class or by the clothing they want to have. Because these distractions are gone, more concentration can be put into the learning that should be taking place. I'm really pleased with how much smoother that sounds. Here's the final section of my draft. Read over this section, asking yourself, which words do I use over and over in my writing? And how can I reword my sentences to make my writing more concise? Pause the video, find the redundant ideas and wordiness, and then revise the sentences so they are more precise and concise. Press play when you're done. Fantastic work! I'm sure you can see a huge difference in this writing now. I'd like to share my revision with you, but first, notice where I underlined redundant ideas and wordiness. And now, listen to my revision. A uniform policy helps to put students in a learning frame of mind. Students know that they are dressed for school and academic achievement. They can separate their behavior in street clothing from their behavior in uniforms. When kids dress for success in uniforms, everyone wins. I took a good look at my paragraph, recognized the wordiness and redundancy, and now I have a clear paragraph that really drives my point home. Okay. I've worked my way through my draft, asking myself, which words and ideas do I use over and over in my writing, and how can I remove or replace them to make my writing precise and concise? Now my revision is complete. Press pause and read my revisions to yourself, and see what you think. Now it's your turn to give it a try on your own. Take a look at the following paragraph. Rewrite the paragraph by eliminating redundancy and wordiness. Remember to ask yourself, which words and ideas do I use over and over in my writing, and how can I remove or replace them to make my writing precise and concise? Pause the video and rewrite the paragraph. Press play when you're done. Now it's your turn to edit your work. Find at least 2 places in your own writing and eliminate redundancy and wordiness. Remember to ask yourself, which words and ideas do I use over and over in my writing, and how can I remove or replace them to make my writing precise and concise? Making your writing more precise and concise will help readers understand what you are trying to say.